Thank you for the introduction, and welcome to you all to this short talk about the Moloch Beamer theme. The Moloch Beamer theme was created and maintained by Johan Larsen. Unfortunately, Johan couldn't come to this meeting, so I thought I'd do a quick talk from the perspective of an user of this theme. Johan Larsen is aware of this talk, has seen the slides, but any opinions I will give in this talk are my own. First, to understand why we need yet another Beamer theme, let's make a quick detour and look at another theme. And in particular, let's look at the Metropolis theme. You have all seen presentations with this Beamer theme. I think if I counted correctly, we had at least 4 presentations using Metropolis already in this conference. And it's a very iconic look, which is easy to recognize. It's also very modern and clean, and a lot of people really like to use it. It is probably the most used third-party Beamer theme which is out there in the usual LaTeX distributions. Besides this iconic and modern look, it is also very powerful. It has features like standout pages and progress bars, which not a lot of other themes and also not the normal Beamer itself provides. As great and as loved as this theme is, it's also got a couple of disadvantages. By now, the theme got a bit rusty. It was last updated on C10 in 2017 and last updated on its Git repository in 2018. This as such isn't a problem. Many packages and themes doesn't need to be updated continuously. But in the case of Metropolis, it's really a problem because all these powerful features the theme has are realized by patching internal Beamer macros. So they are not rewritten, but the Beamer macros are really patched. And since 2017, Beamer evolved a bit. If you've been at the TUG meeting last year, I gave a talk about all the new Beamer features we added. And this has led to the current situation that the current Beamer version is not really compatible with Metropolis. If we would compile the Metropolis theme with current Beamer, it would just crash in errors. Now, you've seen a lot of slides which still use it, and this is possible because Beamer tests if you load the Metropolis theme, and if it detects the theme, Beamer will roll back to an older version of Beamer and use this old code so that then Metropolis can patch the old code. That's a bit annoying from the perspective of a Beamer maintainer because we have 2 versions of the code lying around. And the code itself is messy enough, we don't need 2 messy versions of it. And it's also a problem for the users of the Metropolis theme because they can't use certain new features. And Beamer is not the only problem. Metropolis has also a problem with some other packages. As part of the Metropolis theme, there are also settings which influence packages like PGF plots. And Metropolis does this by using hard-coded version numbers for this PGF plots compatibility settings. So also the users of PGF plots can't use certain new features of this theme. So, in summary, the Metropolis theme is currently held together by a lot of duct tape. It still works, but who knows how long it will keep working. Luckily, there's now a solution for this. There's now a fork of the Metropolis theme called moloch. And the moloch theme fixes a lot of these problems. Johan Larsen forked the Metropolis theme and fixed a lot of the incompatibilities and bugs which accumulated over the last few years. And he also cleaned up the code a lot. He removed a lot of unnecessary things which aren't essential to a Beamer presentation. So for example, all these settings I mentioned for the PGF plots package aren't really essential to create a normal Beamer presentation, so he removed them. And he also modernized the code, and wherever possible, he will now use Beamer own mechanism to modify things instead of patching internal macros. All these changes will ensure that the package and the new team is easier to maintain, and I hope so it will be maintained also in the future. These changes and simplifications means that the moloch theme is not a 100% replacement of the Metropolis theme. I think that's one of the reasons the author opted to publish that as a new theme and not to adopt the seemingly abandoned Metropolis theme. So here is an example how the results of the moloch theme will look like. You can see the same iconic and clean look you used from the Metropolis theme. There are some changes, so it's not really identical. So for example, this morning or yesterday evening at Michael's or Oliver's talk, if you know where to look, you could see that it's using the moloch theme and not Metropolis. The position of the frame number is a bit different. The spacing of the frame title is a tiny bit different. But if you don't see both themes besides each other or don't know where to look, I think it looks basically the same for the audience. And now that we've determined that the moloch theme is so much better and better maintained, and solves a lot of problems, we probably want to know what do we have to do to switch from the Metropolis theme to moloch. Here is a simple example of a typical Metropolis presentation. And in most cases, probably 90% of the cases, all we need to do is to replace the name of the theme from Metropolis to moloch. That should work in the normal, simple presentation case. That's really simple. In the remaining few cases, there might need to be made some further adjustments. On the next slide, I tried to summarize some of the most problems that might occur. In case a presentation uses the metroset macro to make special adjustments to the Metropolis theme, this macro has to be replaced with the moloch theme macro. Then for users of the PGF plots package, they are not lost just because the moloch theme removed all these settings. They can still be used, namely by loading the PGF plots package separately with whatever version number the user wants, and then load the PGF plots theme tool, which sets up some color settings for the PGF plots theme. Another very visible change from Metropolis to moloch is probably the fonts. The Metropolis theme had this special feature that if you compile it with XE LaTeX or Lua LaTeX, it used the Vira light fonts. And if the users like to continue doing that, they can do this manually by loading the fonts via FontSpec or via the Unicode math package if they also use March. This gives them the same behavior as previously with the Metropolis theme, but they don't have to. They have the option to use them, but the Moloch theme itself doesn't dictate any special fonts. Okay, now that we've moved from the Metropolis theme to Moloch, probably a lot of you are curious to test it out, I hope. Doing that is quite easy because the theme is included in both TechLive and BigTech as Moloch. The source code is also available on CTAN, and there's a repository on GitHub where also source code is available and where you can also report bugs or suggestions for improvement to the theme author. I've already done this a couple of times and found him very responsive. Okay, and to close, I'd like to close with a quote which Carl Berry sent me when I submitted the abstract for this talk. So I wish you all a happy beaming.
All right, thanks very much. Questions?
Thank you. So I was one of the users of the Metropolis theme. I was seeing that there was a talk on Moloch that I already knew a little bit about. I tried it for my slides. I actually stole the color for light green that is different between the two teams. But otherwise, I stuck to Metropolis. One thing being that if I just did what you mentioned, just changing the theme, I noticed that the itemized lists were a little bit tighter, actually too tight in my opinion. Is that due to the theme or to Beamer?
That is due to the theme and the feature of Moloch. So what Metropolis did is that it automatically added space between paragraphs, and that's deviated a bit from the normal behavior when it's used from Beamer. So the author decided to stick with the normal Beamer behavior and leave it to the user in case they want to add space, they still can do it. So you can adjust the path skip to get some spacing between paragraphs.
Okay, okay.
That should not be difficult to add. If you want, we can have a look in some coffee break or something.
I think the Metropolis way was a little bit nicer because that's a personal opinion.
Yeah, it's a matter of taste, but adding the space is easier than removing it. So if you want to cater to all users with all preferences, then it's easier for them to add it than for the others to remove it.
All right. Further questions?
Not really a question, but concerning this keeping things in parallel, especially if they then run on old version, makes me shudder, to be honest. I would really suggest to go for replacement, if possible, together maybe with the README, or how to get an existing Metropolis old version to on the new style. Because by the end of the day, this is a nightmare, and one of the reasons why we have the problem is, I mean, we have to get rid of as much patching as we do, and if the patching is actually not even on the current version, you have to first reinstall an old version to be able to patch. That is a maintenance nightmare in my opinion.
Yeah, so. I very much agree on this point. Something I need to discuss with Joseph. So that's just my opinion. But I was hoping this new theme is rather new. It was developed in the last few months. But I was hoping if it catches on and gets stable, then we could maybe in a couple of months or for the next TechLive maybe look into killing Metropolis.
Probably should have just replaced it.
Yeah, but if you just replace it, you have the expectation of the users that you can do everything the same way. For example, the spacing between paragraphs. Then you have a certain expectation from the users. If you do something new, you're a bit more free to make changes.
But you could provide a Metropolis version based on Moloch, just adding in the stuff and saying this is the preamble part and whatsoever, or you just add it so you have sort of a nearby, but not using the old code.
Yeah.
I agree with Frank. It's just from a user point of view, you just keep switching themes. And I think it's more confusing for users than just say, well, okay, here's a new version of Metropolis. Your slides will change slightly. Here is what you can do, but just continue using the same theme that you love.
Okay.
I think in the back was another question.
Yeah, Ulrich.
Yeah, maybe not specifically to this, but you mentioned that like Beamer themes that are old and not so much maintained. Yeah, I think I've been using the same template over and over again and never got lost. Like, what is the good or not so good Beamer templates? Do you have any opinions on it or any advice on that?
My personal opinion is to build in Beamer teams. I think I have to say that as a fan of Beamer, but I think it's really a matter of taste. If you are free to choose, just go with whatever gives the aesthetic you go for, but many people are just have to just use the template from the institution or something, so they don't really have the choice.
Okay.
Enrico?
Oh, one more.
I just translated my 150 slides presentation with Metropolis into Moloch, and it went well, with an exception. If I run it with ZLaTeX, it goes straight. If I try with Lua LaTeX, it stops with an error. And it doesn't load font spec.
Yeah, font spec needs to be loaded by the user. So,
but not with ZLaTeX. That's quite strange.
Yeah, that sounds strange, but I think all these font settings were removed from Moloch, so there should no influences on the fonts. So you should get the normal default Beamer fonts.
Okay.
All right, and the ether is quiet. Boris? Nothing. Okay, thank you very much, samcarter.